Welcome to Magento Association Connect, October 2021. I'm really happy to be hosting and being the moderator of this panel. And I'm going to introduce my colleagues here. So I'm going to say your name and please tell about yourself. Vinai.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. My name is Vinai. I'm based in Germany. I'm a developer and I work with Hoerr themes. And I've been working with Magento since late beta days, so far too long. All right.
Okay. Danny, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. So I'm Danny, and I'm the treasurer of the Magento Association. So in this call for that position, as well as my regular day job is CTO of a company called Cream, an agency based in the Netherlands, doing mostly Magento open source projects.
Nice. Ryan, how you doing over there?
Well, I'm Ryan Hoerr. I'm the tech lead at Paradox Labs, and I'm also one of the signing members of the Open Source Alliance. I've been working with Magento since early M1 days. 1.3, I think, was my first project. I've been working with it ever since. Very much enjoying the time.
Thank you. And I want to welcome Eric. Eric, how you doing?
Good, Ignacio. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Eric. I group product manager for our experiences here within Adobe Commerce, but been with the community for almost 7 years now. And so I'm pleasure being here with everybody. I know there's a lot of questions. I'm hoping that throughout the day we're starting to get some answers, but really looking forward to this panel. And I apologize. I actually did try to make a flight to Poland to see everybody a couple of weeks ago for that one. So I did have that on hold, ready to go for that one. So I apologize if we missed everybody in person, but I certainly wanted to.
No worries. We had a very good time. We miss you already. We were mentioning that someone from Adobe should come, but at the end, I think that everything went pretty well, and we are happy today to have maybe a second part of the panel that we had that day. So I wrote down a couple of. Yes.
Quick shout out to Matthias, right? If you're watching, don't want to forget him. He joined from Typo 3 back then. And I thought it was great. He was there as just somebody from the outside being able to give his unbiased perspective. That was pretty good. So thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. I'm gonna drop the microphone to you like this. You hear actually. Okay, I have the chance to be with him last Thursday. He came to our anniversary party, so he was last Thursday and Friday with us. So we have good talks on saying hello to him from here as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So I wrote a couple of questions. I don't want to be too much specific, but I really want to know which is the current state of the things that you're doing regarding open source. And I'm gonna give you, I want you to say a couple of, sentence that can summarize, what you're doing regarding open source. What about you, Eric?
So good question. How much time do we have? So we're doing a lot with open source. I would split this in between functional and non-functional activities. And so when I talk about functional activities, we're making strides in the things that we've heard about and in some ways have been planning for a couple months. There's been talk about this business plan or what have you, but essentially it's our annual planning and really what it means for us to be more involved in some of the things that Chris talked about today during his keynote. Non-functionally, we're finding ways, and I'm working with probably some new names and faces within Adobe Commerce to kind of reignite our involvement in a non-functional way. So small things like bringing back contribution days, which we had a small one at Meet Magento Romania. Certainly getting involved and making time available for talks like this, and doing my best to serve as really just really the liaison into the Magento Association. So very busy with them and how some of this has been coming together today. It's been much in the works, but really kind of split between the two, but really again driving forward with really some plans that we're trying to help meet some of the needs and things we're hearing there. So,
okay. So on the other side, Vinai, what's the current state of the things that you're doing right now?
Right now we are I mean the group of people who signed this open letter and follow-up, acronym MOSCA, right? Magento Open Source Community Alliance Group. What we're doing is we're building the infrastructure. We pulled in some more people. It's not completely open yet, but we're getting there. We're building the infrastructure for a mirror distribution, first of all, that mirrors Magento open source. So we have all the moving parts that we need just to be independent, just to be safe, learning how to do that along the way. And that would then be a basis to build things like alternative flavors, like a more lightweight or minimal or headless or, whatever distribution based on Magento open source.
Nice. I don't want to let Danny to be the last, because I did many times the last time. So Danny, what are you doing relating with open source? I know that you're doing a lot in your daily basis at your company, but right now you are representing the MA,
the association. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know about the task force. So
yeah, so for sure. So like I mentioned, in Poland, we were at that point in time trying to set up that task force. Those signups have been closed. The D&I committee gave us some input on the selection process to have a good representatives of all the people in the Magento community to be on that task force as well. We were missing some parts of the community, especially technology providers or third-party extension providers. So we reached out to a couple of them to see if they're interested. And then the board finally approved the task force with the 13 people on it. We had our first call last Friday, right? Or last week, which was really good and productive. Everybody introduced each other, introduced himself or herself to each other. And we already had some good and deep conversations going on as a starting point. So currently we are planning for the second call, as well as having Vinai do a part of a presentation that his vision is, as well as Adobe's vision on open source, and see if there's any common ground where we can reach each other and see if there's a cooperation possible. Okay.
So Ryan, Danny was mentioning about extensions. You were a member of XDN, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. Is there anyone planning to join the task force, or you want to see from what's happening from the other side? You want to wait more or less what's going to happen, and then maybe you can join, or there is no public statement about what's happened there?
I'm not involved in the task force itself. I think that's all settled at this point. As far as open source is concerned, I've been involved with Vinai and many others who are very capable and very smart in setting up this community open source initiative, and I'm really excited about where things are going and what this will bring to the community. I think it'll bring a lot in terms of helping to keep things moving forward and bring more initiative, more rapid cadence into what's out there.
Okay, so just to focus the audience here, so we have Vinai. That Vinai is also involved in the Moscow initiative, but also he's a member of the task force as well, and the Magento Association. We have Danny, that is a board member of the Magento Association itself, and also Eric, that here represents Adobe. I just want people to understand more or less that also Vinai can jump into Moscow things or a task force, but I think that people would love to know exactly what's going on, and all those things. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just realized maybe what I was saying was too limited or too one-sided, or assuming too much previous knowledge. So if it's okay with you, can I just go back a step and give a little broader picture, maybe?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Of course.
Right.
We have time.
Okay, so.
Not too much.
We had this. Okay, where do I start? We had this right. So after writing this open letter together with others and publishing that, and it made a big splash, and because we were feeling Magento open source we were feeling a bit abandoned by Adobe and Magento Association. There was some kind of disconnect, right? So at the moment, a lot is about getting back into communication, and that's happening a lot. In Poland, in between, in calls, individually, and now also with the Magento Association Task Force. Now, one thing I just wanted to zoom in on a little bit was the call last week that you mentioned, Danny, right? That was great because it turns out from my perspective, there's a lot of disconnect in regards to expectation and understanding how Magento open source will develop in future. So I think back when the Magento Association was founded, I was talking with Ben Marks back then, and he mentioned that one day it might be able to become the steward of Magento open source, whatever that means, right? But Magento open source is the foundation for Adobe Commerce and B2B, etc. So there's no way. How would it work to give control up over that for Adobe? It just doesn't make any sense at all, right? So going into this call last week, I think many people in the group, the open source task force, had the understanding that the goal of the group was to somehow find a way that the Magento Association could become this steward or somehow take over control or get more control in some way, or something like that. Or how could that look, right, over Magento open source? And I was very pleased to hear that Adobe, well, Eric, you actually said it, that there are no plans to hand over Magento open source control. And Chris said the same thing today. So that's great that there's that's a clear statement, right? And so, to some people it might have been a surprise, others maybe not so much, but at least now, it's open, it's clear, we can work with that. We can work.
Yeah, it's also the first time it's been communicated like that, right? So.
That's great, and that's the kind of clear, open communication we need, and I really appreciate that, because nobody that I've talked to, neither from the association side, nor from us in our little Mosca group, nor from Adobe, everybody wants to collaborate. Right? So that's the basis. So let's bring all the facts out in the open and figure out how we can collaborate. And I think we're on a good way there, even though right now, I think this open source task force is maybe now just figuring out what is the actual goal, right? Now that, okay, this is out of the picture, controlling or having some control over open source, what do we do now, right? And that's now it's getting interesting. So that's the current state of things and what we're doing right now.
And like Chris mentioned in the opening keynote, he is open to a fork or distribution which is upstream compatible as well. So he opened up that one as well.
Hey, whatever can speed up the process of getting aligned with anyone's, vision of what they want about the product can be nice if we can have it compatible at all, or bug free or trying to improve as fast as possible. So what are the next things that Ryan? I'm gonna give you the voice because maybe the last time was not the best fit possible. So what are the next things that you think that your involvement in the Mosca thing? What are the next steps that you see that you can do in the repository and all the things that you are contributing to the initiative?
That's a good question. We, as a group, have been putting together a list of various ideas that we see for improvement of the platform to help lower the cost of ownership, to help speed up and make it easier to get into the platform. So that's really where we see the biggest potential for improvement early on, such as removing dependencies with Elasticsearch and Redis, queues, making it easier to install and set up, making it easier to update. So that's really where we want to focus. Keeping up with what Magento and Adobe have done with the platform, which has been very successful so far, but then hopefully taking it to the next step beyond that. Yeah.
So, Danny, how can you see right now that the collaboration between the task force and yourself and the Magento Association itself? How it's going to be? You said that you mentioned that you're going to have another call, which is going to be the process at the end. So, what is going to be the outcome of the task force?
That's a good question because we don't know. Well,
but you have something on your mind. There is a goal, and every task force has any goal, right?
the vision of the Magento Association is to empower the Magento ecosystem and community. So that's the mission statement, and we need to be sure that that's being executed. What we did see as a board was that the Magento community was a little bit crumbling over the first half year of this year, and we identified that and start talking with Adobe about how we could turn that around. So we already had some talks about the future of open source when the Mosca open letter was written and published. And we quickly identified the needs of the community there and started the process to create that task force, which is, I think, a really good starting point to have such different perspectives from the community and Adobe in one room. So there's no set end goal. But overall, we want to make sure that the Magento ecosystem is starting to thrive again.
Okay, and you, Eric, how you see this task force? How are the goals? What you see? Do you know the task force can pursue? What are the goals that you see in place?
Yeah, so I'd build on what Danny had to say, but I think ultimately we're looking at, and again, I'm a product person, so I'm looking at it as a way to make sure that community really, as a product, serves the needs of the community. And what I mean by that is, are we opening up the right channels of communication? Are we doing the right thing? Have we made changes that have had a net effect one way or another? And some people will say that's developer experience, but in some ways it's collaboration. And I think we've got to get really specific to kind of what Vinai said. What does that collaboration look like? Because I've had a lot of opportunities really in the last couple of weeks to start to unpack this. In many cases, like individually with people that I used to see pretty regularly at our events, in person, what have you. And when it comes down to it, it really just comes down. It's really about getting on top of the changes that have happened, whether it's the people or even the technology. We're in many ways, Magento 2, as we know at Adobe Commerce, as we know it, is a 5-year-old platform. And so how do we evolve in a way, and we've used the word decentralized way, so that we can still thrive in a way where pockets of the community are working on different pieces, but finding ways that we can be backward compatible with with some of the thinking from folks like Igor Minayo and others on what that looks like, right? And so I think for me, I'm hoping to solve for some of the technical challenges that start to help with this distribution, this innovation, this really the sandbox and how these work together, yet meet the needs of what this looks like as a product. So I'm looking at things like adoption. I'm looking at membership. I'm looking at other areas so that we feel like, on all sides that we're doing the right thing for the community through the change. So.
Okay, and do you see that this progress is made as a reaction of the letter itself? I think that things are getting accelerated because of, the release of the letter itself.
That's a good question. I think there's definitely been more attention. I'll say, and Josh had covered this a little bit this morning, this idea around, Magento Association 2.0, what have you, really started in the spring. And I started kind of going pen to paper on this business case, this white paper, what have you, shortly after Ben left, seeing an opportunity as we get into this next year's planning, as we start to see some of the changes, both in the people process and then all technology, to make sure that we don't lose really the part that has gotten me excited about waking up every day for almost 7 years with this myself. And so I think the letter was helped with the attention and got maybe some more others involved, but I don't think that was the single reason. In some ways, this has meant we've been looking at this from a variety of perspectives beforehand.
Could you say what was an accelerator?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. It's hard to say. We have to find, what does an accelerator mean? We were doing a lot of the things that we were. I think is almost a reminder, right? The fact that we have to find our way again. We know that the community in many ways has thrived, and we've and whether in question that we often ask. I was talking to Joseph about this recently on his podcast. Like, was the pandemic a big part of this? Because I know I've personally appreciated conversations we've had here. In person, like there's so much that happens that gets decided, is discussed and debated in forums like this that quite honestly the green light and the slides don't really do it justice. We've tried and we've done our very best, but sometimes that gets missed. And so I think part of it is that, but I think other communities have thrived as well. So we've got to figure that out. So acceleration maybe, but like it's really more of a reminder of what it can be. And I think that's really the opportunity.
Vinai, you see as a reaction as well? We were talking about that.
It doesn't matter. So for me, the whole Mosca initiative is about independence and self-control, destiny. So, and that's also, it's like a reminder, right? Hey, just waiting for others to please do what's good, for me, maybe isn't always the best move. Sometimes it's maybe better just to say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, and let's see how we can work towards it without having to go against anybody, but kind of in a collaborative manner. And that's basically my idea behind it. And I think
independent move, you know.
Yeah,
not,
right.
not a little bit aseptic.
It doesn't matter if it's what matters to me and my business is that we do what we do now and to execute it in the best possible way. And if that happens to match up, and it looks like it does, then great. But if it's an accelerator or not, well, it's certainly an accelerator for what we are doing. So that's what's important for me.
Okay.
Does it make sense what I'm saying? I hope so.
Yeah. I think that we were talking about having a little bit more like an independent view about how, can the Magento Association itself, represent us in the way that can cover as well some of the goals that we have as organizations that are not Adobe itself, that we were, playing with Magento since long time ago. And at the end, it's something that affected us. I think that also, as Eric said, the COVID times, not having any event, not seeing each other for a long time.
Yep.
We were losing a lot of conversations. We were losing a lot of traction. We were losing that. Also, all the people were there that, give us another alternatives as well in terms of technologies. And, we experienced a little bit of, losing a little bit of traction, and I think that we have this responsibility in front of us to take this opportunity and make something great together. And I think this is, what we really need to go through, and with the tax force first, and then, having another alternative as well, that can. I think that competition is nice. I think that competition is something that is really needed. I'm not talking about only technology. I'm thinking about the organizations itself. I think that also, Magento Association can have some alternative as well, that can make them improve as an organization to speed up on the level of the things that the community needs. And I think this is something that is happening right now. It's my 50 cents here. So, and moderator, not panelist. Everybody's talking about a fork or distribution or whatsoever. I think that every one of us in our companies, we have our little distribution with bug-free Magento installation, and everybody's freaking out about, no, there's a fork going out there, and then everybody's going to jump on it. There's a thousands of forks, and installations that we have in our own companies, and whatever we want to call them. But I think that there is no need to be scared about. It's my opinion. In this case, Vinay, what is the vision of Mosca in terms of what is doing regarding repository? How you plan people can contribute in this case?
Right. So I've written a number of documents that will be published pretty soon. And we're collaborating on them. So I don't want to go into too many technical details right now, but yeah, basically a more traditional open source maintenance approach, right? Hopefully not as long, PRs that take years to get merged. That just kills motivation to contribute. And how can I answer this?
No, it's easy. I really want to, push it to Danny and Eric, about how can we have a common ground about, all this work that is been doing in parallel, that we can, contribute in somehow, to the task force and in terms of ideas that everybody can benefit from, It's
what
so
I took
Ignacio,
from the
go ahead, Danny. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So what I took from the first call of the task force was the feeling of the community that to not be that much involved in the technical decisions. That in the end, Adobe makes for the Magento open source product. I feel like the community wants to have more of a say in what kind of technical decisions are made, and which decisions are being done there.
In more democratic way,
Yeah.
Maybe.
But in the end, Adobe has like they own the product, right? So they don't have to listen to it.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice.
Let me tell you. I'll give you my perspective on this one, and this comes from a point of like great sincerity. I think when I saw this concept of the fork, I thought for me this is that reminder of like we need to think about really the root cause, or really what this is about. And for me, it's about the communication. It's about maybe there's some technical considerations we should think about. Maybe it's a model or a process that should get better. And for me, it's less so much about that, and it's really about what we can do more together. And I don't mean that by any means to be cliche. I think I'm trying to again, as a product person, trying to understand what have we missed, what have we overlooked, and I've been encouraged by some very specific scenarios around things like Elasticsearch and others. And as going back to like, okay, why was that the case? Great. How would a smart person, how would this community go back to and evolve and or look at options that would better serve this smaller market for that? And so I'm encouraged by with what with Vinai and Willem and the community continue to press. And I'm excited to read what he's put together. I think it's not I think ultimately we have a responsibility for the core platform as we see it, and I think we have an opportunity to bring more feedback into the process with, again, so many names, so much process, other things that have changed over time. And again, the blocks that we've had as part of that. So I really want to, I see this as a means to bring really strong and specific feedback to make sure it meets those needs. And we can talk about it. Sometimes we may not arrive at the same conclusion. We may have different goals for what we're trying to do, but I'll bet it they're probably closer than one would imagine. And I think it just comes down to the specifics for that. So when I hear fork, I see that. And again, I'm not trying to sidestep, like what that's about. But I'm very encouraged about the types of problems and areas that we're going to be solving for with the task force. And let's get into some of these details. We haven't had that opportunity in quite some time.
Yeah, I think that you tackled one of the things that maybe will improve everything. That's communication. I think that we need to be having open conversations about dealing with technology can be a little bit scary sometimes, because there's, everybody has some view or they're all interested. But I think that being more open in communicating things in another way on maybe the frequency could be better from Magento Association itself, about what's going on regarding the open source product, and also, trying to pull more information from you guys. I think that I'm encouraged, Danny, to say something, like getting information from Adobe about, to tell the rest of the community what's going on about the open source project itself. Not say anything, Danny. Are you with us?
Yeah, sorry. What was that? What was the question?
The question is that we need. I think that in the end, I think that communication is a key here. I think that we were experiencing a period that there was no communication, since some livings we have all of us. Yeah. We had some people, some connections inside Magento that at the end, they are not there anymore, right?
And do you now mean communication from the association or from Adobe itself?
I think that the responsibles about making, in my opinion, the responsibles about making announcements regarding the open source project could be the Magento Association. I think was one of the goals, about why this association was found. One of the goals was, taking care about open source projects, events, and other activities. And at the end, there was no communication. That was, people got frustrated somehow. And I think, this responsibility, in my opinion, cannot be under Adobe all the time. If we have an association that should take care of open source, they should be the ones responsible to, like knocking the door of Adobe about, hey, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, we identified that, and we were talking to Adobe about it and trying to communicate as well. But we as an association lacked that at that point. Which with the Poland event was really great to see everybody in person again, because then you got the conversation going and got feedback as well, which we took to the board, and I think you noticed some changes there already from the association as well as from Adobe's side.
Okay. So we have here just for Warren that maybe, okay. Ryan, sorry, I forgot about you. Sorry.
I'll forgive you. On the Mosca side, I was very encouraged by what Eric said just now and by what Chris conveyed earlier in the session this morning about the opportunity for us to all work together and work toward a better future for everyone. I don't care for the term fork personally, at least in the context of this Mosca initiative. It comes across as very divisive to me, and that is not in any sense what we're going for. We want to help the community evolve and thrive. We want to help everybody be more successful. So whatever opportunities we have to help everyone along, and even to possibly feed things back to Magento upstream to Adobe, it's absolutely better for everyone.
Yeah, and I maybe just adding on that too. I think one of the nice things that we covered a bit today was really just reestablishing the purpose of the Magento Association. I think for a lot of people, it may be new news, but it's been like this from the very beginning. It's a nonprofit organization. It serves the needs of the community, and Adobe as a sponsorship as part of that, right? Yes, there's a relationship. Yes, there's the product. There's commonality, but I think looking at the association as a means to really help with the full potential of the community, even if sometimes the goals are slightly different or have to be organized in a way with this growth. I think we've got some work to do, I think, in terms of what that looks like, how that's collaborated and such. But I think part of that is really looking at the association and looking at the full potential there, which is a good thing. So.
And that was also the vision that Ben started and Brittany started with the association, right? And we should execute on that vision. I still execute on it.
I would like to build on that, if that's okay. A bit, what Ryan said and what you just said, Eric and Danny, because Chris said something about refocused, attention on guiding the Magento Association from Adobe's side and Magento Association 2.0, whatever that means. So that's interesting to me because, to be honest, from my perspective, outside of the Magento Association, so far my impression has been that the reason why so little visible movement happened was because it's so dependent on Adobe and not independent enough, right? So now when I hear Magento wants to take more control, to rephrase that in a maybe more interesting way for this purpose of this discussion,
sure.
I don't know, that it almost feels like, hey, they're taking away something that could be more, strengthen the community by building out the influence of Adobe there, rather than making it stronger and more independent. So I was wondering, same thing in regards to the paid memberships, and because of course finances are an important aspect of being independent. And so far, I know there's a number of partner companies that are financing the Magento Association. Finances are not open, so Danny is probably the only one who knows it all. I don't know, as the treasurer, right? But probably Adobe has a very important role to play there too. So by opening up paid membership, I would have expected the association to become more independent and stronger. And after hearing today, when Josh said, well, we'll at least waive membership fees for the next to the end of next year, it's like, I was disappointed, right? That feels like a step backward into more dependency, less movement. So yeah, I would be interested in hearing your take on that.
I can respond on this one. Okay. So first of all, we just signed the audit for fiscal year 2019-2020 as a board. So I'll be posting a blog post pretty soon about some financial summary. We cannot go into detail on every line, but we will publish a summary for the last 2 years. So I'm working on that right now. Basically, if you look, I looked at the type of tree example, which is basically the same as what we're planning to do as an association there as well. So yeah, we heard the feedback, we heard the voice of the community, and we want to have more open finances. So we're trying to do that as an association.
That's great. And sorry to cut a little bit, because Joshua is mentioning in the chat that he's going to take every single matter regarding, the new board elections that are gonna happen. So he's asking us, to let it go a little bit, because he's gonna also have a Q&A directly to.
I think that will be right after this session, I guess.
Exactly. So we are just,
stay tuned.
letting him out of content for his session.
All right. Let's table that. Sorry for bringing that up. I wasn't aware.
No, but it's okay. I think that everybody wants, to know about the Magento Association itself, to know about some. We were listening about elections in Magento Poland, and I think that it's nice to tackle this.
And regarding membership, so we were always thinking that the association should bring value to its members in order to charge a particular amount of money for membership. What was interesting in the discussions in Poland as well was that people were actually willing to just pay like a sponsorship or like a individual membership fee without having any real benefits, basically. So I'm also part of the membership committee. I will take that question to that membership committee. Like, I think there's a call next week. I say, hey, is this something that we would see value in, and can we execute that as part of, like, the current membership fee is waived, but if someone wants to pay right now for it, why won't we open it up? Is that a possibility or not? So that's something that we're going to discuss as well.
It's a good point that you raised, like what's the value in return. So
And we've been struggling with that a little bit.
Without control over open source, big question mark. So time to figure that one out.
So here we have some questions in the Q&A. Osvaldo Spadano is asking, developers in the community will work things out around Magento open source no matter what will happen, but what about the merchants? What concerns this will rise? What it will mean to them? If we have a merchants right now here in the panel, what we will say to them, Eric? What is the message about future of open source from the Adobe point of view?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I do want to touch on Vinai's question on independence, because I think there's some context there that will help. But I think answering your question specifically, our stance really hasn't changed, and we've been pretty consistent about that. Certainly in the last couple of weeks, if you've had folks like Chris, Matt Zimmerman, and others have weighed in that. We have no plans to deprecate open source as I think once feared. We've got I think it's very much a strength. As we look at really other platforms in this ecosystem, and sometimes that gets centered around developer experience. In other areas, it's around innovation, and in many ways, it's very much about what this community does. And so, as a merchant specifically, I think they should see this as a pocket of why they've chosen and why they would continue to work with the platform in the first place, which is about the ecosystem. It's about the flexibility and our commitment, even through the changes to make that viable option. Inside of that, and I think that's one piece. The other piece, and Chris touched on this a little bit this morning, is the merchants also, though, thinking about some things like overall total cost of ownership and upgrades and other aspects of this, where we've had to consciously look at the lean model, essentially a leaner version of the product, and that's both the technology and the processes, because we understand, quote unquote, the cost of keeping up with that. And so I think merchants are going to be looking at it in many ways away from the developer experience and really thinking about the cost of their own ownership, what it means to build, maintain, optimize their site. But that's our take on it. But we've been pretty consistent about that. But I also recognize there have been some questions around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really think also as well that we need to have some board members that can represent the merchants themselves. I think that would be a good idea. I don't know if we have some any. I think that Rebecca was in the past representing merchants, Danny, in the Magento Association.
Yeah, we were at Rebecca as well as.
And Andrew Figgins sits on the board. He's actually
he's right now on the board as a merchant, and the previous treasurer was a merchant as well.
Okay.
And she stepped down as well.
Okay. So the plans, I think that Joshua will explain that maybe merchants as well will be represented in the board member as well. Could be nice. Would be nice. Yes. Okay, guys.
And Andrew is doing a pretty good job at that. He's hosting that panel discussion with merchants at this MA Connect event, as well as doing the podcast as well. He's pretty involved in that one.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting, very nice question here from Willem regarding the Magento brand. I don't know if someone can answer the question, but there's a lot of people, having the same question, because we have this thing regarding the brand in the past with the Meet Magento, and it does it have an end of date? Does it extend past the Magento Association and Meet Magento? No way. Okay, so I'm thinking about guys, for the next session that we're gonna have right now. It's Joshua Warren is gonna take the lead regarding the new announcements for the Magento Association. Is there anything else that you want to tackle right now? I have a list of questions here. If you want to ask yourself anything, would be nice, because I just went through all my questions. So please, if someone has any question from the audience.
Yeah, I did see Eric Hillerman's question about benefit of paid membership is voting. The bylaws say only paid membership can vote. That's something that we discussed in the board, but currently we are actually waiving membership fees. So you are kind of a paid member, but the fees are waived. So yeah, there's a bit of a discussion going on how we would leverage that with voting for new board members.
So I would, if there's time and a question, I just wanted to address this question about merchants and the benefits for merchants that I can see in this current development here, where I see that the effort Adobe is doing in regards to lean open source, lean core, right? That very stable, no breaking changes. That's great. That's exactly what we need to be able to build separate distributions around it, right? So that's very much along the same line what we need, actually. So that's wonderful, and will enable a lot of innovation around this lean core, which of course will be alternatives, right? Alternatives, like, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said a competition isn't a bad thing, right? It makes everybody better. So having different opportunities there probably will help both sides. And I believe the people who will probably profit the most are actually the merchants, right? Because when they are able to choose, everybody wants to make their choice the most attractive one. So hopefully the merchant will win.
And we do it all for the merchants.
Right.
Yeah, there's no other reason why. That's correct. So what about here? So
Any
we have a web question from Bagab and another from Manny Faraki. We had in the past we had a swag. He's asking about what about having a Magento Association website that kind of generates some revenue. Danny, how you see that as a way of income for the association itself?
That's an interesting perspective, and I don't think that we've looked at that opportunity.
Yeah, sell some NFTs.
Yeah, they go for millions, right? So
yeah,
right.
Those Magento lamps,
the logo.
Yeah, but to run an association and have people on board to execute on certain stuff, you need to have a budget and you need to have income, and that income currently has been generated by sponsors, whereas Adobe, as one of the founding partners, is a larger sponsor of that. So we need sponsors at this point of time.
Yeah, maybe part of the budget can also be covered by having this website. I mean, I think it's not like a crazy idea. I think that everybody wants to have a swag or a couple of stuff that can be branded by Magento, and the brand again, Willem, who is the owner of that, and we can order something and hoodies or whatsoever, and then that maybe take.
I'll see everybody with a Magento Association hoodie next in-person event then.
Who knows? Okay. Any other question in the QA that you want guys to place? We'll be so happy to answer. We only have 4. There is another one asking about can be there a reference taken from Automatic, which runs WordPress community and events of community, as they don't have membership fee, but their managers and everyone gets paid from community. You see any parallelism that we can use in the Magento Association? I don't see it. I think that at the end, paid membership is the way.
Many ways.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that during the next open source task force call, right? That's part of that discussion, I think.
Okay, so if there are no more discussions, no more questions, I think it's time to wrap up. And I really want to thank all of you, Vinai, Ryan, Danny, and Eric. If you want to say anything before ending up, you're free to say anything, Vinai.
Well, thanks everybody. Looking forward to the next steps. So thanks.
Okay, Ryan.
Sincerely.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your attention and time. Really looking forward to what the future has. I think it's going to be bright and good for everyone.
Well said.
Okay, Danny.
Yeah, really excited about the first call with the task force last week, and seeing great opportunities ahead and a really thriving Magento ecosystem. So yeah, really positive at this point in time.
Yeah, and I really want to thank you for attending today and explaining everything from the point of view. And if you want to mention something before ending.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is covered. I just want to say thank you. And I think Chris said something earlier this morning that struck. His words, not mine. But you probably see a lot of red shirts. But I think there are many people behind the scenes, that bleed orange, and they want to see this work. I think let's keep the conversations going. If there are questions, you know where to find us, and let's find ways where we can work through some of these things. And so please let us know. But again, just thanks again for all of you. I know it's starting to get late in various parts of the world, but I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate the community for everything they do.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you. And I want to hate a little bit, to Joshua that was jeopardizing the session a little bit with the chat, and that was eating part of my questions that I was going to mention to you. So he's gonna cover all of those topics in his session. So nothing else. I want to say thank you to you, all of you, and also to Magento Association to also having me as a moderator today. So. See you all on the next one. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.